Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone, and to another book review today. So guys, we have another book that my friend Bunny and Mr. K sent me, and it is Caution, May Calls Unexplained Ocular Bleeding. What the hell kind of title is that, right? This was awesome. So it's really short, however, it is a horror anthology, and this little baby packs a punch. You guys know I love me some horror anthologies. So what I thought we could do here is I'll kind of just go through each story, give you a teeny little tiny overview, no spoilers, and just kind of give you my thoughts on some of the stories. But be forewarned, we're dealing with some extreme shit in some of these stories. So, you know, this is kind of sort of going to be for my extreme horror people. Not like crazy extreme, like, oh my god, there's not a story here. This, if you guys have tuned in for any of my previous videos where I talked about extreme horror, this is a fantastic example of extreme horror done right. Because this is gross. This is like super out there. There's a lot of sexual stuff going on in here, a lot of blood, a lot of guts, a lot of gore. But there's some damn fine stories. So this is what I mean when I say that extreme horror can be done well. You know, in none of these stories, not a single one, did they go off the rails and it's like, okay, what are we doing? Why are we talking about this gross shit? Why are we doing this? No, this was a story. And there's some crazy things that happen in here, like nutty kind of stuff. And it's still a story. Because you guys know by now, I'm kind of a big critic of extreme horror when it's like, just gonna be gross, or just gonna be this, or, you know, and loses the story or has no character development, nothing. This was a fantastic example of extreme horror done correctly. And again, it's not a big read, it's easy to get through. So let's dive in, shall we? Also, before I get started, I loved this about the book. In the back here, you have these little blurbs from the author telling you, like, I guess his inspiration for each story. It's really cool. It's really cool. I loved that. I wish more authors would do that for short stories. Okay, the first story was called Drive Me Home. And this is one of those, I've said it in the past, this is one of those where you know where the story's going, but it doesn't ruin the journey. It was really good, and I thought it was a really good use of, like, kind of ambiguity, because there's kind of a switch that happens, and it's really well hidden. If you're a horror fan, you're gonna pick it out fairly quickly, I think, but it's pretty well done, I think. Even at the end, you're like, oh crap. It's kind of like you knew what was coming, but you kind of hate yourself because you didn't want that to be the end. So yes, the first story, Drive Me Home. Pretty damn good. Okay, the second one, oh my god, I loved this one. Hell is for Rabbits. Loved it. Loved it, and I'll tell you why. I can't tell you what exactly kicks off the action without ruining it for you, but it's something that I have often thought. Like, I know of at least 2 separate occasions I have thought of this, like, but what if that happened, like, by mistake, you know? And then there's a story about it, and it goes off the rails. Lots and lots and lots of body horror, some, like, wacky kind of body horror, too, like, crazy kind of body horror. Gross, but yet still a pretty decent story, and it's very short. You know, so I liked it. I really did. Hell is for Rabbits. I thought it was great. I loved the opening premise because I was reading this like, yes, finally someone's writing about this shit because I have thought this before. All right, and the next one. It's Fine. Everything is Fine. Okay, if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, you're gonna like this story. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. It could be a scene out of The Walking Dead, and it was really good. Also, if you've ever had someone that doesn't listen to you, you'll like this story too. It's Fine. Everything is Fine. Okay, and the next one, Midnight Massacre. I love the title. It put me in mind of like some Are You Afraid of the Dark shit, but this one was probably one of the weirder ones. If you don't mind like a short story that sort of, I don't want to say it leaves you hanging, but it doesn't really have an end. If you get my drift, it was well done. I enjoyed it. I loved the imagery. I really did. I liked the setting. However, this one was probably like lower on the list for me simply because it was so short and it was kind of just like, here you go, and kind of just petered out. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. Loved the imagery, thought it was well done. I've read a lot worse in my life. Very, very well written, I thought. It was just kind of like, yeah, I guess in comparison to the others. But you guys have heard me say in the past, when it comes to series, short stories, things like that, you're always going to have some that rank higher and lower. It's just the nature of the beast. So, Midnight Massacre. Okay, and the next one, The Journey. This might have been my favorite story. And after reading the little blurb from the author, you know, it seems like it just sort of like happened for him, and I love it. I love it. It's so hard to explain. You are following this man as he tries to quit smoking, and he goes on this trip. It's so good. It's so good. It gets like when it opens, it's so normal, and by the time it ends, it's so not normal, and it's almost like it kind of sort of sneaks up on you. You know, like as you're reading, you're like, what in the hell is going on? But you can't look away. You can't look away. It's so good. It's really good. Now, if you don't like maybe a sprinkle of some science fiction in your horror, you might not like this, because I can see some people, like maybe more my sci-fi lovers, they might lean a little bit more like, oh, this is like alien-esque, and my horror people will lean more like, oh, this is body horror. And that alone, might I add, the fact that, you know, people could take it either way should be very intriguing. Think about it. Okay, the next one, The Right Tool for the Job. This was good. This was good. It was really short, had a very cool twist ending. Very cool twist ending. And I don't think, for my horror lovers, you're going to be like, yep, seen that 1,000 times, and you're still going to like it. That's how well it's done, I think. It has all your, like, classic kind of slashery type tropes in a lot of ways. You know, like bodies in bags and shit, but it was well done. The ending really got me. I thought it was good. The ending was hidden well enough to where when it happened, you were like, oh wow. Like not overly shocking, but you're like, oh wow, that's cool. So, The Right Tool for the Job. All right, and the next one, The Worms. Okay, you guys have seen this trope before. I personally like it. You might not. I personally like this trope. It's when you have one character who is like spouting this story and everyone around him thinks he's nuts. You guys have seen that. I'm put in mind of, is it Conspiracy Theory? I think it's Mel Gibson. Oh God, it's been too long. That kind of thing. If you like that, you're gonna like The Worms. It was pretty good. And it had just a smattering of body horror. So yeah, you might like this one, The Worms. Okay, and the next one, Wake Up. This one is kind of sort of in the same vein as Midnight Massacre, to a lesser degree. You do have a story here. It really does sort of kind of just like roll out, you know, and you're kind of left wondering like, okay, what was the point? Great body horror, amazing visuals in this one. And a little step up because you do have a little bit more of a story happening in this one versus Midnight Massacre. But it's the same idea. Like you get to the end and it's just like, like, okay, all right. Why did that happen? I feel like you guys know what I mean. So, Wake Up. All right, the next one, Horseplay. Now, I want to pause here because it says on the back that Horseplay was a Godless Horrors hit. And you guys know I did a 3-part series on Godless. I'm wondering if it's the same thing. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is. So if that's the case, then that means this particular story was standalone on godless.com. If you guys haven't checked out godless.com, do yourself a favor, especially if you're a horror fan. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to go watch my 3-part series on some free Godless books that I read, be my guest because there's some crazy shit on that site, and if you're a horror lover, you're missing out. So, Horseplay. This is probably the most extreme, in my personal opinion. You have some antics happening with a horse and a guy making a video. Yeah. I'm gonna let your mind wander. I'm gonna let your mind wander. And it's very graphic in a lot of ways. So, Horseplay. All right, and the last one, Troglodyte. This one was very interesting and probably my second favorite in the whole anthology. It's that, what have I called it in the past? Understated horror. There's nothing really in-your-face scary, I guess. And there's not even really a ton of action, to be perfectly honest. But there is this man who has a lot of psych stuff happening and how he chooses to deal with it, which is a little bit off the wall. Not the craziest thing you can think of. You know, I know I'm talking to my horror people. You guys know we can get pretty crazy. He doesn't do it in like the craziest way or really even a violent way. But it's very strange. And it's very interesting to watch his process because it kind of takes place over this span of 10 years. You know, it's still very much a short story, but, you know, you have this man doing this particular activity for like 10 years. And then he decides to change. And the day he does, or really a couple days after he makes that decision, something happens. And it's really kind of tragic, to be perfectly honest. It was kind of sad to me. You know, I felt my heart going out to the guy. I really did. So, troglodyte. So guys, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I have to say, I loved this. Loved this. It is so small. It packs such a punch though. It really does. If you guys are like me and you like horror anthologies, I highly recommend. This one does lean more on the extreme horror side, my personal opinion, but not overly so. Like, I wasn't finding myself gagging or anything. This isn't Cows, okay? There is some crazy stuff, so just keep that in mind. But if you are like me and you like horror anthologies and you haven't gave this a whirl, highly recommend. It was awesome. So guys, thank you for hanging out in the Panic Room for another book review. Please, if you like this, hit like, hit subscribe. It would really help me out. And until next time, bye for now.